All right, so let's get to the dailies.
Let's see
what's going on in the UK to what's going on in Nigeria. And of course, leading that headline, this Nigeria is where we'll start from today. Sanwo-Olu denied access to Tinubu as Lagos Assembly splits. Makes two unsuccessful attempts to meet with President Bola Tinubu in the villa. Obasa and back resumed duties. Pro-Miranda lawmakers will stand by Madam Speaker. You see this Fourth Republic and this particular 2023 set of leadership is very interesting. So Lagos has joined the pack we never thought they would join. You know, we have Rivers, two houses of assembly. Lagos now has two speakers or people disputing themselves who is the speaker. We have two emirs. In fact, before Obaseki's tenure ended, we had two deputy governors. Kaide, what else can we have in twos? But it's quite interesting.
Well, thankfully, we have three anchors on the show.
So that's more than two, right?
It's quite interesting, the power game in Lagos. So you see all of that. So the headline is kind of saying what they know, that the governor of the state hasn't been able to see the president. The president has a lot on his plate to deal with as a country. But let's see how this plays out. It's developing. It was yesterday we heard that Mudashiru Obasa headed into the House of Assembly. He said he didn't invade. He said he didn't, what's that word he said?
He didn't force himself.
Yeah, he didn't force himself.
He had quite some reservation about
and he did interviews yesterday saying Obasa is back. So he even alluded to the fact that Miranda had actually resigned, but we don't have an official communication to that. So they met at the GSI in Marina and all of that. But we're going to have that conversation today on the program. It's the biggest headline, perhaps, in most of all of this. So the other one on the front page of This Nigeria, Akpabio and Natasha's fight enters round 2. Northern youth accuse Kogi lawmaker of corruption. Petition Senate Ethics Committee. Akpoti Oduaha vows to X-ray Senate leadership. Okay, we're here for the game. As I always say, as long as they're not killing themselves, let showdown begin.
Well, from there, let's head straight to the Guardian newspaper this morning. And, you know, typical of the Guardian, the picture deployed to telling the story is, you know, quite vivid. You see there a cartoon image of the DG of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, pushing a truck carrying fake drugs. It speaks to, you know, the challenge that she's up against. You can see how towering the truck of fake drugs is. That's just how towering or, you know, a tall order it is, you know, to continue to combat the menace of fake drugs in the country. And the headline is aptly captioned, War Against Fake Drugs, How Systemic Inefficiency, Complicity Aid Multi-Trillion Naira Illicit Trade. Now imagine if the challenge is worth trillions, and you know, compared with how the commission is the agency rather is underfunded, and you have, you know, inadequate personnel, you know, deployed across the country to continue to combat fake drugs. So, of course, you find the story on the inside pages of the Guardian newspaper this morning. But at the top of the big story, you also find Obasanjo's 7 ex-leaders seek debt relief for African countries. That story is on page 7, and there's also Air Force investigates as officer kills 1, injures 2 in Kaduna. That story is also on page 3. Not very great stories to chew on, but of course, to get the insight. That's it for The Guardian.
I couldn't help but see that story about mass wedding. KB paying 54 million naira as bride price for 300 couples. And who says government is not working, right? But over to Blueprint newspaper now. Blueprint leads with, of course, the Lagos Assembly crisis. And just as Jeffrey said, like Rivers, Obasa leads 4 lawmakers at plenary. Insists I remain speaker. But, you know, it's quite different. Because the leader of the 4 lawmakers held a meeting in the government house. That's in Rivers State. Right? This one held in the State Assembly in Lagos. Well, you know what, you can actually get confused when you're trying to compare these things, and you just wonder what exactly is going on. But explainers say Miranda's security details withdrawn and restored. 36 lawmakers vow to stand on their mandate, fault party leaders. And that was a song that rang in the air yesterday, the On Your Mandate song, particularly from those who were in support of Mr. Obasa just outside the gate, and they were singing On Your Mandate. So I was thinking, whose mandate now are they standing on? Is it, because I thought that song was for the president.
It was for the president, right?
So are they singing?
No, there's no crime in remixing. Remixing is very much a part of music culture globally. So maybe it's been remixed, even though for one side of Lagos, one part of Lagos, but for another individual.
It's interesting. So he has 4 on his side. I think there are 39 APC lawmakers and 1 Labour Party. I don't know where the Labour Party guy is. Is it he or she? I don't know. So I think Rivers has 3 lawmakers because he is now, what's his name? He's now the chief of staff
To the governor.
Isn't that interesting? This democracy. I love democracy.
As you say, Jeffrey, let the drama continue as long as there are no killings.
And in this case, it looks like there is now no right or wrong. It's just because you could see the police and security detail with Mr. Obasa, right? And the same security detail was restored.
Sometimes I actually pity 2 sets of people when politicians fight, to be very fair. I pity the police sometimes.
Yes.
Because you're bringing papers here. This one is bringing papers. Who will the police really obey?
Yeah.
And then they are turning between the seats, and then we go against the police. Oh, police is taking sides. 2 people may have a valid position or quote-unquote valid positions. The court will sit on their own. You carry your problem and come and present before the court. The court interprets it, will start screaming. If politicians can just put their acts together, and we must say, every democracy that has been truncated was caused by politicians. From 66 to 83, except the military one that we had, the funny one that happened in the Third Republic. Let's not destroy this democracy. We've done well so far. Okay, let's take it easy, guys.
I think it's a no-brainer, really. Just to mention the story about 4 trillion naira debt owed Genco's discos, crippling our power sector. That's according to the ministers. Again, 4 trillion naira. Those are the words of the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, saying that Nigerian government is owing electricity generation companies, Gencos and discos, over 4 trillion naira.
From the subsidy
Jeffrey,
that we
there
didn't
goes
pay.
your band-aid.
Yeah, so all the money they are collecting from me, every day this Ministry of Power is coming with complaints. Yes, every day.
But to be fair, he's beaming the spotlight on the government.
So
saying
let's be clear, the 4 trillion, I have not read that story.
Yeah, the details are on the inside pages of the book.
Okay, I have not read it. Perhaps it's talking about subsidies they've not paid to maybe the generating company and all of that. If that's the case, I can understand. But maybe when I read the detail, I'll be able to find out. But that ministry, they complain too much.
Well, I hope the detail...
There's a lot of complaint.
It's not new information, you know. It had been published earlier on that the National Assembly is owing, agencies of government are owing...
Pay. The presidency has paid now. The presidency actually paid, yeah.
So it's not new information, but I also hope that this disclosure by the Minister of Power also contains timeline for the payment of debt to the discos such that they can function more effectively and stop giving excuses of not being able to deliver because of some issues of, you know, lack of funding and all of that. So it's not necessarily new information. We know that government agencies are owing distribution companies.
Please let them pay. Whoever is owing the discos, pay. If citizens can pay, pay. And then we can understand. So that the Ministry of Power, led by Adelabu. The man can stop lamenting and let him focus on his work of providing power for all of us. We have a target. The president has promised at the Chatham House that he will unbundle the sector. He's done that to a large extent. He says he's going to fix it. Let's see how he's fixing it. Okay.
Well, Kadi, you're missing something else on the front page of Blueprint. Look at the top. New petrol price reduction. There seems to be a graph there. And you can see the petrol stations and the price that they're selling. In Lagos, there's 860 naira per liter.
It hasn't reflected
MRS.
yet, so.
Southwest, 870 naira. North, 890 naira. South, and Southeast, 890 naira per liter. And then you see You know, just a bit of addition for the other filling stations at the bottom of the graph there.
They are still selling the old stock, by the way.
News.
We haven't seen this reflected. I'm sure the newspapers have done their work, but I haven't seen any fuel station where there's anything less than 900 naira. So perhaps they're still selling the old stock. Maybe the new stock is what they're talking about, but I haven't seen it. But if you've seen it, it's going to be nice.
Me neither, but I'm looking forward to buying at this price.
Bukola is always looking for fuel, Kayode. Anyway, let's...
Bukola is our special petrol reporter on the morning.
What do we have next, Kayode?
We're doing some trends.
We'll send you on a tour to NNPCL filling station and refinery.
I think we should just head over to what's trending. And, you know, the conversation you raised earlier on about Keir Starmer saying that... to Kemi Badenoch now, that I think she has appointed herself savior of the Western civilization. It's a desperate search for relevance. Below the belt, above the belt, it was aimed directly at her. It was a major one. And I saw a lot of Nigerians rejoicing, right? I really don't get it. But let's take a look at reactions to that statement. You know, politics is getting heated in the UK, so some of these things should be properly contextualized. But Jen's Law has this to say about that hit. It says, desperate search for relevance, in quote. Now that's a career-destructive statement to someone who constantly destroys her people's opportunities to garner relevance to her. In this user's words, masters. So you can see how a lot of people view the statement, or that statement from Starmer towards Kemi Badenoch. So that's from Jen's Law. This morning.
All right, Tom Boy says, at this point, the biggest threat to the Conservative Party is themselves. Starmer just capitalizing on the chaos.
Well, I like this one from Emmanuel Okoegwale, who says, honestly, I like her to evolve there, but throwing your country of origin under the bus every time without provocation is something else. No respect for the country at all.
And when I talked about context, this next user tries to put that, because when you watch proceedings at the House, particularly in the UK, sometimes you're like, is this a marketplace? What is going on here?
Like they are joking? Or
yeah.
The parliament, you mean?
You just, back and forth. So this user says they trash talk each other frequently in that room. I'm sure she's not taking that comment seriously. That's what the user says. If you've not watched it, you should watch it one of these days. Just watch the proceedings and you see how the back and forth. You take a seat and the next person stands, blasts you, and takes a seat, and the next person, and they jar or boo.
But I kind of, sorry, Bukola, I kind of like it, which is why some of us may partially be supporting returning to parliamentary system, where our president, whoever is our president, stands before lawmakers every Wednesday. Or maybe we could modify our own, say, every 2 weeks to give account of stewardship. It will be interesting to see, because in Nigeria, the president doing media chat is almost a privilege. And this is, these are leaders that we elected to account for whatever commonwealth we have. We can almost count how many times President Muhammadu Buhari did media chat. At least President Bola Tinubu, in less than 2 years, he has done one. So we can do an average of 2 in his first, if he's going to run again this term, you understand. So, but there, as soon as you become PM, you're going to be facing those opposition lawmakers who see nothing good in whatever you're doing. Every week, or literally 2 weeks, you're going to be facing them. I think it's kind of, it's good.
Sometimes it feels like a rap battle.
Well,
that's what it feels like. Just
it's like a cipher.
You know,
maybe not the same model, but we've tried a parliamentary system of government before, not being the entire exact model, and now we've been experimenting with the presidential model.
Before 66.
Well, I know. I'm just speaking to what you're saying. It's a good thought, but we're entirely, as far as leadership is concerned, we're entirely a different stock of people, drawn from different origin, and whenever we have these leadership conversations, it's always directed to the effect that perhaps we should try our hands on something best suited to our own uniqueness, our temperament, and our own origins. But that comment about whether she's taking that submission by the Prime Minister seriously or not, I'm not an expert in UK politics, but it just may be at her detriment if she does not, because that statement may just be evidence of what many may consider white supremacist thinking about her politicking in the last couple of months, particularly how she has thrown her own country under the bus. So they may not be deceived, about attempts to currying favor from, the Caucasians, ahead of the next election. So just, a thought that should be considered.
There you go. So those are some of your thoughts on that issue. We're switching gears now to the big story, and that's the Lagos State House of Assembly. We're going to be taking some of your comments, but that's right after the show. And we have two guests joining us to dissect these issues, so we get a better sense of what exactly is playing out in Lagos. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.